guys, welcome back to Inside the Lines. Happy Thursday. We do have some NBA for you guys today, but we are going to dive into this NFL draft, talk about some picks we've already given out, talk about some value plays, things to look out for across different markets where you can best maximize your opportunities, maximize your money. Before we get into that, let's take a look at yesterday with the boys here. Pretty awesome day, pretty great NBA day here, Steven and Jake. I know we only went 2-2, but we had two props that you gave out earlier that were for the earlier slates. It would have made this 4-2.
I know. And of course, I put in a stupid 10-leg college baseball parlay, and Louisiana is the one that didn't hit. It cost me $1,000. But I did unaccidentally put in a what you would call it, where you play multiple legs of parlays, and I hit like 8 of 9 on that, so I was still profitable. Thank goodness.
That sounds like what Shohei Ohtani's translator does before breakfast, right?
Yeah, I bet 160,000 on college soccer. Yeah.
Well, I'm reading from our friends at Sportsline, the graphic that they just made, talking about some of the quotes back in November of 2022. He says to his bookie, "I'm terrible at the sports betting thing, huh? LOL. Any chance you can bump me again?" Then we fast forward to November 2023. Just wanted to ask, is there any way we can settle on an amount? I've lost way too much money on this site already. Of course, I know it's my fault. Okay. This is in the summer, so that was November 2023. Now we're in June 2023. I have a problem. LOL. He goes March 20th of this past March. Goes, it's all over for me.
Well, at least it sounds like his English is very good. So hopefully, he's doing his effective job, helping Shohei learn the vernacular. But
didn't he say he went to college in California, but they had no record of him actually going to school? So I don't know.
I was tempted to ask our database person for Sportsline to see if his name shows up, just to make sure he's not a current subscriber.
That would be funny. 16 million. That's just like, you have to be so bad.
But he was down 40 million, right? According to the last thing I read.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had assumed he was betting baseball maybe, and I thought maybe he was betting a lot of like minus 200 money lines and thinking that he would win them, like they're locks. Because it's like, what would get you to keep betting? Like, you'd have to start winning at least well over 50% of your bets to psychologically feel good about yourself. But then probably not. Probably just he's probably doing a bunch of parlays. He's probably doing 10-team college baseball parlay with Louisiana as the final leg.
It's probably betting on Brooke Lopez and Dennis Schroeder like me.
Yeah. Dennis Schroeder at 3.8.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Wait till Dylan Brooks' overs.
Heyman Thompson blocks and steals every day.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some NFL draft stuff. Now, what I'm going to do is pat Jake on the back again. Don't let's get to your head, Jake, but just got to show how successful he was last year and the model was last year and how well we did overall looking at this NFL draft. And to go along with this, we've already been on the right track this year because some of these bets we've been giving out, sprinkling throughout this offseason through the past few months, have steamed in the direction where we thought. Chiefs to take a wide receiver, Jake had mentioned. You can't get plus money anymore there. Jags have gone from plus 180 to almost minus 200 to take a cornerback here. Jaden Daniels, Jake gave that out super early with the plus money for second or third. Still can get plus money on third overall pick, just not as good as value. Michael Penix, do we think, so this plus, it was even money, now it's plus 105. Do you think it will stay in this area? Do you think it's a sense of urgency at all?
I mean, last week, I think after his pro day, he got a lot of buzz, and that like a lot of people would have him like mid first round. Some people had him going to Vegas. Now, after like the post pro day high, it's kind of faded away, and I think some people are realizing maybe he's not. That's why I kind of like fading Bo Nix, because I think I'd have Penix well above Bo Nix personally, and now that Penix is fading, I think I would fade Bo Nix because I think there's a max of 5 quarterbacks taking the first round, and it's either Penix or Nix is the 5th, and I don't think either. It's a good chance neither of them are.
So when we get to the situation, maybe more lines will open up towards the draft. But do you think we'll get the chance to just completely fade Nix, either to not go in the first round or to go after Penix?
I still think there's value on minus 150 to not be in the was it over 32 and a half at minus
Right.
for Knicks. That's pretty much betting him not to be in the first round.
Exactly.
There's so many mock drafts today, and I don't even think I saw one of them with him in the first round. And the odds implied at minus 150. What is that, like
60%.
50% ish? Yeah. So I mean, considering that, like, at least maybe one of them in the last couple of weeks I've seen have like Denver trading back in the first round and grabbing him.
Mhm.
Maybe like 10% of mock drafts. So the 60% compared to 10%, you're still getting value uh, at minus 150.
Hey, Jake, I know you're relying heavily on right now on DraftKings. Is that because they're the first one to post a lot of odds, or is that?
They have the most odds. I
Yeah.
actually noticed Mackenzie and I were talking about some of these running back props and the best way to go about a Joe Alt prop, which is a little
Mhm.
spoiler. And FanDuel actually has better ways for that. But to go in the first round and over under pick, that's DraftKings pretty much the best book for right now. But as it goes on, some of these books will have more options.
And do you think when a week from now that you'll see a lot of range in some of these odds, or do you think it's to get pretty tight? Do they follow the leader kind of thing? Just
So as soon as some of them are posted, there's a decent amount of range, and then someone will realize there's a decent amount of range, and they'll bet them pretty much to even on these books. So right now, I'll give that out prop later with on FanDuel with the running backs. I'll give that out soon. I could see either them. I could probably see them more adjusting to what DraftKings has rather than the other way
yeah,
around.
yeah. Oh, one thing I think we should get credit for this, but yesterday when we pointed out the Bo Nix mistake on DraftKings. Now we were wrong that they kept the line that we thought they would get rid of, which was he was minus 135 to go in the first round and plus 120 to go under 32 and a half. So obviously, and now they just adjusted both to what plus 120, plus 130 for both picks because they're the same pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those
But we did point out the flaw.
Yeah,
Yep.
somebody, we got a DK sneak in here somewhere. Okay. Well, all right. We know we don't like Bo Nix. The best way to fade him right now is to go over on the 32 and a half picks at minus 150. Still decent value there. We do like Penix. If there is somebody, a quarterback between two of them to go in the first round, probably likely Penix. Penix over probably Nix in general. But someone else we want to look at, let's go over to JJ McCarthy here, who has kind of, in my eyes, has felt like the Will Levis of this year's draft, who's gotten a lot of hype. It's gone up and down. The mock drafts, it's kind of looking at our own Ryan Wilson's mostly where he's been putting him, what pick he would be. Started around pick 16 in January, has steamed all the way up to maybe the third pick in the draft, and now it seems like we're settling somewhere around that 4 or 5 spot. But you can look at his odds over here, third, fourth, and fifth pick, and then top 5 is minus 200, which is implying a pretty decent chance it's top 100 or top 5. But Jake, tell us the best way you think to go about betting JJ McCarthy this draft.
Yeah, so it's pretty much at minus 200. There's a very good chance that he is a top 5 pick. Right now, I'm thinking I just put a little sprinkle on Hard Rock. I saw that they had the 5th pick was the same as DK at plus 275. Harbaugh's the coach at LA and the Chargers. He wants his quarterback to go as high as possible. I don't think he's going to take him. I think he's going to probably trade that pick because, I mean, they don't value a wide receiver like Arizona might at 4. I think Harbaugh would love to run the ball with your guy Gus 80 times a game if he could. And so I'm thinking 5th pick at plus 275, but pretty much most drafts that have him, pretty much most mock drafts have the Minnesota trading for the 4th or 5th pick. So I did 1 unit on both, hoping that one of those hits. And if he goes 5th, you're up 1.75 units. If he goes 4th, you're up 0.75 units. So just hoping one of those situations happen.
Don't say hope, say knowing.
Knowing.
Will. Yeah,
Knowing.
Yeah,
Allegedly.
it's gonna be, I still believe that when the dust settles, it'll be Caleb, Jane Daniels, Drake May. And then
I think so too. I think there's a lot of smoke screens that happen right around now.
I think these numbers are going to come down, and this guaranteed 0.75 unit will go away to no guarantee.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so moral of the story here, the best idea for us personally, Jake personally, to play this JJ McCarthy situation is to put money on both him as a 4th pick and as the 5th pick, because if he ends up either, you're coming out of that profitable. Now, top 5 minus 200, I know it's got some juice there, Jake, but do you still feel, do you think that's even worth playing?
I wouldn't play it. I just would take the 2+ monies because pretty much everywhere I've seen has him 4th or 5th. I've seen occasional 3, like we had Ryan Willison had one of his mocks. He had him going 3rd to the Patriots, but I don't like playing any minus 200s when it comes to draft stuff unless it's a lock. Like when
Right.
you have a quarterback who's a generate like Trevor Lawrence going 1 at minus 200, yeah, give me that. JJ McCarthy top 5, yeah.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
If I had access to Shohei's account that no one else had,
if I had $16 million,
I'd put at least $16,000 on that.
Yeah, if I had a $700 million pitcher as my best friend, maybe I'd steal a couple million from him and put it on that. But
with zero counting skills, he's too busy hitting and pitching, so he has no ability to read a ledger or log into his checking account.
That's just so crazy to me, but whatever. That's a story for a different time. Okay, let's talk about another quarterback here. We haven't spent too much time on Michael Penix, somebody that people are starting to think might be falling, but we do like him above Knicks. Let's take a look at some potential specific landing spots for him. Maybe do a little sprinkle of a few teams here.
Yeah, I think half a unit on all 3 of these teams. The Vegas is the favorite at plus 340, but they have the 13th overall pick. And if they don't like him there, I think that opens up a lot of opportunities for these other teams. The Seahawks are the big, rumored landing spot because they have his OC from last year in Grubbs. And, Geno's 34 years old right now. I don't know if you believe much in Sam Howell. They didn't really spend a lot to get him. So that's worth the risk at plus 1,000. The Rams plus 1,400. Yes, they have they have an aging Matt Stafford, and behind him, Jimmy G. Jimmy G is also aging as well, and yes, he might be pretty, but his throwing has not been pretty lately. So plus 1,400. Give me the sprinkle there.
And he's not going to be on steroids anymore, because he got busted. So he's already weak-armed with the roids.
That's crazy that the logic here is to bring in youth when Penix is 35 and has no experience.
It's still, compared to Stafford at 36, 37, maybe even older.
Listen, who's actually peaking physically after the age of 50, I can say there's nothing wrong with being 35 or 25 or whatever as a rookie.
With the new medicine we have now, if we talk about MLB, Justin Verlander is pitching at 42 years old. Yes, he's hurt, but you'd never see that 20 years ago. And so 25, yes, the new 21. Then with the Saints, we saw Derek Carr last year, not very good. Plus 1,100, they need a quarterback. It could be right where they trade back late in the first. I think that's another fit as well. All of these over plus 1,000, I think it's worth half a unit. It's kind of like where I hit Tennessee to draft Levis last year plus 1,200, just thinking about quarterback situations where people didn't think they'd get him because of Malik Willis, but I didn't really buy that. And luckily that hit. Same with Seahawks. I think Sam Howell, if they hadn't traded for Howell, what do you think the Seahawks would be plus 500 to? Howell wouldn't scare me.
Yeah, I think Howell screams like a quality backup to me, a guy who can win games, but that once they have lots of tape on him, is not going to be able to be a starter for a playoff team. The Raiders, obviously 13 is too high for Penix, right? That's probably why. If the Raiders are drafting 23rd, I think it'd be a lock. But
exactly.
They're not. I don't know who. They don't have John Gruden running the show anymore, and he loves. So who's drafting for them now? I don't even know who the GM is. But
that's better than what's his name? What's his name? The guy who worked for NFL Network.
Mike Mayock.
Mayock.
I don't know how bad he was or how much he got rolled over by Gruden, but
I know. His drafting. Gruden and him as a combo drafting, not that pretty.
That's like Owen Fettner. It's not much of a track record.
So I have a question: if the Raiders are not taking a quarterback, would they be taking a cornerback in their first round pick?
they've been linked to cornerbacks. They still have a lot of needs, except for the defensive front, where they're really good with Christian Wilkins, and
Awesome.
they're loaded on the front and their defensive front. They need, I guess, secondary. They could really improve. I've noticed Quinion Mitchell, who's Derek's guy from Toledo. He's been rumored to Vegas a lot. I keep wanting to say Oakland, but it's not the case. Their defensive line is stacked, as Derek said. So I think 13. If they trade down, I could see them getting another couple picks and then taking Penix. But if they stay at 13 and they just go for needs, I think they need a cornerback. They have a couple other needs to outweigh quarterback right now, especially since they signed Minshew. Minshew wouldn't scare me away from taking a quarterback, but it's different than that some of these guys on the Seahawks and Saints have signed.
Okay, good to know there. Let's take a look at someone we feel very confident to go to a specific team in a specific round. But there's a couple different ways you can play this. And the best way we have found Joe Alt to go to the Tennessee Titans is to take him to be the 7th pick in the draft at plus 160. Now, there's a lot of, you can get the Titans to take an O-lineman at minus 300. Him to be a top 10 pick is pretty juiced as well. So this is the best way to maximize your money, right, Jake?
Yeah, I think so. I think probably 80% of mock drafts have Joe Alt 7th to Titans. They haven't been one of the teams rumored to trade down. I think if we were talking about RAS scores earlier, I think he had a 9.93 or something like that in his RAS score, and he was already a top prospect before that. And he's at minus 400 to be the first offensive line. You don't really see the first offensive lineman falling beyond pick 7. And Tennessee needs offensive linemen, even though they signed a couple during the free agency. They need a starting left tackle badly. So all 7th pick overall plus 160. I think there's definitely value considering if you play the numbers, 80% of mocks I've seen have him going there.
Right. Okay, let's move on to one more play we feel pretty passionate about. Any questions in the chat about any of these players, feel free to let us know here. But let's take a look at the running backs here. Again, finding ways to maximize our money, playing a few plays, guaranteeing coming out on top here. We're going to take a look at the running back market, maybe playing 2 different players, again, like the JJ situation, just coming out on top.
Yeah, honestly, I don't mind the sprinkle of just putting Brooks at plus 250 to be the first running back selected, but Trey Benson had a really good draft. Brooks is coming off a torn ACL late in last season. I actually have seen a draft have him going 23rd to Dallas, who needs a running back pretty badly, unless you're a Deuce fan. Deuce Vaughn, if you like your 5'6" starting running backs, I don't know, 5'4", pretty much 5'6", a little generous. But this is the one where I was talking about how on DK it's like plus 160 and plus 180 for Brooks and Benson. So getting plus 250 and plus 200, and pretty much every other every mock draft has one of these 2 going first. Corum scares me a little because I could see Harbaugh just taking him and saying, I'm going to run him and Gus a billion times. But since I've seen Brooks as the only running back going in the first round in any mock draft, I kind of like that. And Benson killed the combine.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting thing is what happened to some guys like Corum if he is in a spot where Harbaugh could draft him and he doesn't take him. Sort of like what happened with Richard Sherman when he coming out of Stanford, when everyone passed on Sherman. It's like, oh man, if Harbaugh is passing him like whatever 2 or 3 times they thought they may have taken him. That'd be interesting if Corum plummets.
Mm-hmm.
He does have a lot of wear and tear on him as well. So that's kind of something that scares you a little bit. Brooks was actually pretty much like the 1 year lead back at Texas because they've had some really good backs, and getting plus 250 would be good if he hadn't torn his ACL.
Mm-hmm. Let's take a look at Latu here. I see someone asking about him in the chat. I know he'll probably be somewhere around that past top 10, maybe 11, 12 type of situation. A few teams could be in that spot, potentially the Broncos.
I've seen him going anywhere from 10 to 25, really. And the thing with Latu is he was medically disqualified from Washington, and then he transferred to UCLA and they cleared him. which is kind of the opposite of Jalen Phillips, who was medically disqualified at UCLA and then transferred to Miami, and they cleared him. So, but that's probably the one thing holding Latu back. But I mean, he had an outstanding season. He's a freak athlete. But it's all this is where medicals definitely play a factor if you want to draft Latu.
He's plus 280 to go in the top 10 on DraftKings. So that's
yeah. I mean that's like
so
plus
that
280
sounds
looks
like
nice, but I haven't really seen it early in the season. I saw like top 5 him going some mock drafts. I even saw one CBS draft a while ago have him going number 1 overall. But I mean, probably something happened with medicals where some teams aren't as confident because he's definitely steamed down lately, even though he killed it during the season.
Versus ahead of it. Versus at 230, so the odds makers lean him above Latu.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dallas Turner from Alabama,
he's minus 160 to go top 10.
Yeah,
So he's
I think a lot of people have him or Verse going to the Falcons, and I think that's kind of going to push Latu down. I only think one of the 3 goes in the first round, and with Dallas Turner at minus 160, top 10, yeah. And with Dallas Turner at minus 160 is probably him to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. I think that's all the questions I see so far on the draft. Hopefully, everyone can get these lines early. It pays to watch early and watch live as well. So, any other questions? Feel free to reach out. But let's take a look over to the association, where we got a few games tonight before a very large slate tomorrow. The boys will be going through. So let's start here. We got 5 games to look at for tonight to make some money. We'll start with Chicago headed to our Detroit Pistons, who I do believe have burned away any chance of hitting the team total, correct?
Yeah. So sorry about that. I mean, they would have had a chance. They didn't get screwed by the refs against the Knicks, right? So that you should get a refund. If you're nice, you should ping whoever DraftKings, wherever you made the bet, and say, "Come on, I should at least a half one there." Yeah. I'm a very influential gambling analyst. You can cut me some slack. I'm going to go with Kobe White over in his assists. Model is a 5.3, which is right around what he actually averaged. So a very nice, solid season trend. You can buy low value with a lower last month average. He's at 6 in his last 2 games. And I think because Detroit is a little bit more competitive at home than on the roads, or they're not competitive and point and guards who don't average tons of assists get a ton at Detroit. Whatever reason, guys who average similar assist totals as Kobe White averaged 6.8 with a 5-1 over at Detroit.
Mm-hmm. Have we tracked how well that stat is done? Because in my head it always is automatic, but maybe it's not.
I was hoping you would have said, yes, I've been tracking that and it's done really well. So why don't we just assume that it's been doing well? I keep going to it because, so. So
do we have the full Detroit lineup tonight?
I don't think so. Cade Cunningham is always a game time decision. Marcus Stafford might get more time. They don't have a lot of the prop lines out for a lot of players as of the last hour. So it's not a guarantee that you're going to see a full lineup.
Any thoughts on DeRozan here?
He's been doing really well with his assists recently. So the model hasn't caught up to his last 5 games where he's been probably looking at it over 6 assists a game. And he's been scoring a ton too. So we don't have model value on him, but he's certainly been playing well.
Mm-hmm. All right. Good to know. We'll head on over to the next game here with New York headed to Boston. There's been a ton of line movement here. I thought, to my knowledge, Boston is are they sitting their guys, or you just think they're not going to try hard?
Well, that's the thing. So it's -4 Boston when it initially opened. Then I saw this morning New York -2.5, so it's like a 6.5 point move, which screamed to me that they were just going to sit everyone since they've locked up the overall 1 seed or home court throughout. But then the line came back to -1.5. It looks like Tatum and Brown are going to play. They're not, and it's only the bigs, Porzingis and Horford, who were out last game, who were game time decisions. So I'm going to go on the other side because we don't know what's going on in Boston with DiVincenzo, who delivered nice over 6.5 assists and rebounds for me 2 days ago. And there's not a value on his rebound, so I'm just going with his assists. So he's basically assisting like last season when he averaged 3.4 and with a nearly 60% over. The last, he's coming in 3.3 with 12 and 7 over since March, and he does average again over 2.5 assists, even though his season trend is slightly under.
Jake just mentioned this chat. We were talking about this as well, how he's had a ton of assist opportunities recently here in the last 5 games, almost 6 assist opportunities compared to just 4 through the entire season. So this is a good time to hop on the assist train for Villanova boy over here.
Yeah.
Josh Hart still projected for 40 minutes. I mean, I might have missed this, but the Knicks are they still playing for seeding here?
Off the top of my head,
for the third seed.
Yeah,
I think they're tied with Cleveland for the 3rd seed, and they have the tiebreaker. So they are.
Yeah.
Nothing more classic than being like off the top of my head, and then knowing Jake will have it actually off the top of his head.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on here. We'll go to Houston, headed to Utah. Utah kind of just thrown.
There is a reason why we keep Jake around. It's not his magnificent personality, right? It's his Rolodex.
It's both. It's all above.
All right.
Storage unit in his brain.
This is the opposite of the S list day, I think. I'm going to go with another player who helped me 2 days ago, Eamon Thompson, who had over 2.5 steals and blocks the other day. Over 1.5 steals at plus money. Now this number was, I think, was a lot. It was even like plus 125 this morning. So you want to get it before it goes to minus money. Model has 2.1 steals. The season trends are irrelevant because he averaged around 22 points, 22 minutes a game for most of the season. In his highest minutes played games, over 4-2. His 4-2 is coming his last 6. Houston with nothing to play for. He played 38 minutes last game, so I think that he's going to play as many minutes as he's available. The good thing is Utah, even when they actually have their full roster, their opponents average the 4th most steals in the league. Utah leads the league in turnovers, and then considering only Keontae George is playing, who would be part of their regular rotation, and he's a high turnover point guard. So you have a lot of guys, Taylor Horton-Tucker, he turns the ball over a lot when he gets a lot of run. And then there's also youngsters like Juzang and Taylor Hendricks who could you could imagine Eamon Thompson, being a better size and athleticism matchup. So I love this situation for him to get 2 steals. If you're not an Eamon Thompson fan and you want to make money off him, I would go for his turnovers because you get similar numbers there.
Screw that guy, Taylor Hendricks.
Yeah, I know. I shouldn't mention his name. Yeah,
we don't claim him. All right, good stuff there. We'll go to just 2 more games here. New Orleans headed to Sacramento. This should be a good game. Sacramento, basically a pick-em. Sacramento 1-ish point favorites at home. Going back to Keon Ellis, having himself a recent stretch.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hope that he was 8 for 15 from 3 yesterday at 26 last game, I should say. He had 26 points, so he's a great defender, or has been playing great defense. So if he can score like that, especially with Malik Monk out, then maybe he'll get 30 more minutes. So I'm banking on him, hopefully hitting a shot early, getting the minutes, and the model has him at almost 70% chance for a block. He does have a higher home average than road. He had a 6-game stretch recently without a block, but he's come out of that with 3 in his last 2 games. And guards who averaged 0.3 to 0.7 blocks, again, I wish they will track tonight, Mackenzie. These guys for most of the year against New Orleans are only 33% over, but recently, last 14 games, it's 0.9 in the 7-7 over. So block party.
Just reminded me, I feel like there was a team last night we were saying we should keep a close eye on to know for the rest of the regular season how they're going to play.
Yeah, it was Houston, I think, and it seemed like everybody played. Fred VanVleet, he's an older point guard. He played 38 minutes, but he was shooting well, so maybe they just wanted him to feel good about himself. Dylan Brooks, he played 33 minutes, so they played everybody. They were playing spoiler to Orlando, who's fighting for playoff positioning.
Question in this game here that we're just on with the Pelicans. Valanciunas, his PRA is 22.5. We're getting the vibes that might feel a little high considering what the minutes could be tonight.
Well, the model loves him, and we still have him at 23. Now he was added to my S list when he was in this doldrums of these 4-point games and really getting very few minutes. I don't know what happened against Phoenix 2 games ago. Why he got hurt playing 4 minutes but he bounced back with 21 and a decent games last game. I just don't know. I guess they'll need his size. You would think against Sabonis, so you would think he'd get plenty of minutes, which is why we like him go over.
Mm-hmm. All right, we will round out here with a good old faithful Steph Curry on the road getting boards. This is what we always love to see.
Our PRA for Steph is the same as the odds. So it's a distribution thing of assists, 2 points, and rebounds. So we're going to assume that this trend of the year where he gets a lot assists on the road continues. The over is 25 and 12. He has a higher average on assists on the road. There is blowout potential. At our projected rate of 4.8 rebounds in 33 minutes, he would need 25 minutes to have a decent chance of getting 4 rebounds. So Portland, I'm hoping that Clay is a game time decision. Draymond is as well. If Draymond's out, then you would hope that they might need some more rebounding from everybody else. Last year, when that was the case, Steph was almost 6 rebounds a game. Clay, if Clay is out, if both of our players are out, then maybe the game's a little bit closer than the line did move from Golden State minus 15 to minus 13.5. So maybe there's some optimism. Portland's a terrible team at home. They lose by 7 points a game, but they're horrible on the road where they lose by 11. So I think for this reason, guards who average 3.5 to 4.5 rebounds, they only average 3.4. The over is only 5 and 11 versus Portland when they play at home. But on the road at Portland, it's a 3.9 average and 9 and 5 over. Mm-hmm. So again, we'll see if these things work.
Yeah.
They're out.
Yeah.
So I would get that number because Steph was minus 160 this morning. It got down to minus 150 now. But now maybe I'll go back up to minus 160.
Yeah.
Minus 170.
Act now. That's what we say.
Yes, TREB equals rebounds. In our CBS database that I use to power the fantasy game, TREB was the abbreviation, which is why I use it.
Total rebounds.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I think. All right, let's take a look at the recap screen here. Some props to get you through the NBA slate tonight. Some stuff from the draft as well. Again, we've had other plays throughout the week that you can take a look, or throughout this past few months you can take a look at as well. But here are some new ones. Looking at teams to draft Penix, sprinkling some money there, sprinkling some money on some first rounders. We actually didn't get to those. That's my bad. Just long shot first rounders here. Maybe worth a sprinkle as well. Looking at Joe Alt, the best way to get him to the Tennessee Titans. Benson and Brooks, profiting off any of them being the first pick. Same with JJ to be the 4th or 5th pick. A good way to hedge your money, guarantee some profit there. So we'll be back to normal tomorrow. Full NBA slate tomorrow, full baseball slate tomorrow, college and MLB. So that should be interesting. I may or may not be here. And
Mackenzie, if we have a good night and there's an outside chance that we can go up by like 10 units or for NBA since the Super Bowl, and rather than risk ending the regular season on a negative, I might just go with like 15 minus 300 bets just to see if I can, try to eke out a nice 10 and 5 with like a 1 unit gain. But I might do that just to cheap, just to lock in a marketable record for next season.
Yeah, that's on the Sportsline site right now. I'm 11 and 4 on my last 15 NBA picks, and I might just leave it that way headed into the playoffs.
Yeah, there's nothing gained. There's no new NBA subscribers, so you might as well just lock in for next season.
Exactly.
It's a little behind this curtain gambling marketing 101.
Yes.
Once you lock in the profit, don't risk it.
Yes. That's what we are behind the scenes here over at Inside the Lines. All right, that's all we have time for today. Again, tomorrow, massive slate, so bring your pen and paper and questions. We'll see you guys then, and good luck tonight.